Hello everyone and welcome to our second episode of Environment, Health and Safety EHS Webinar Series. Today's session is about efficient managing and monitoring COVID-19 through SAP EHS solution. Our speakers for today's session are John Wilson, Global Center of Excellence SAP Digital Supply Chain, Arun Bhaskar, Solution Architect EHS Center of Excellence YASH Technologies, Yogesh Nagpal, Global Head EHS Center of Excellence YASH Technologies. And here is the agenda for today's session. We'll speak about SAP solution landscape, Safe at Work solution outline, and further we'll cover the solution demonstration in detail, the solution features and highlight, and the associated implementation timeline and the cost, and what are the key business benefits towards the end of the session. So before I hand over to John to start with his presentation, here is a quick poll question for all our attendees. I would request all of you to kindly participate into the same. So the question is, how are you managing EHS operations in your organization? Over to you, John.
Thank you, Arti, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. As part of this first section, I really just want to give you a bit of a very quick and broad overview of the environment, health and safety solution from SAP. This question actually came up in our last session because we were focusing on certain components. So we just want to introduce the broad capability. So, remember from last time, we talked about how SAP is helping our customers become intelligent enterprises by combining operational data together with experience data. This could be our customer experience, employee experience, or product experience. And within that manufacturing area of operations, this is where our environment, health and safety portfolio sits. So there are a number of components of this portfolio, and I'm just going to run through them all very quickly. So the first component is around incident management. And really this covers all of the processes around recording incidents, managing near misses, and also recording safety observations. So the core capabilities here are around tracking, so identifying incidents when they occur, tracking those, and then putting the corrective actions in place. So a consistent process that manages that whole process from initial identification all the way through to closing and putting in place the corrective actions. The second area that I want to focus on is around managing chemicals. So these are typically chemicals that are inputs into the production process. Many of them may be hazardous. And so we want to have in place appropriate processes to understand how those chemicals should be stored, how they should be managed, the risks that are associated with them, and any controls that we need to put in place around that. So if you're an organization that deals with hazardous chemicals, then you can use this capability to understand those risks and put in place the appropriate mitigation strategies to manage them safely. The next area is around operational risk assessment, and this has a little bit of a crossover into our employee safety and our asset safety, and actually will be an area that Arun will be touching on a little bit later as well. So this is around identifying risks and hazards within the workplace, and so this could be associated with a particular area of work, or with particular equipment or assets, and understanding the inherent risks in working in those environments and the appropriate mitigations that need to be put in place there. So, so really this, and remember, this is about operational risk. So this is not financial risk or governance risk. This is very much focused on operations. So moving forward, Industrial hygiene and sampling. So this is around understanding, we looked at chemicals before as inputs. With industrial hygiene, we're looking actually around exposure. So, are there inherent risks in the workplace that not only need to be managed, but also actually need to be assessed and tracked? So, do I need to sample air quality, for example, or the buildup of certain particulate matter or gases? So with industrial hygiene and sampling, we can put in place that monitoring, that sampling approach, and ensure that we're capturing all of that information. This could be done internally. It can be also in conjunction with external laboratories for that analysis as well. The next area is around occupational health. This is a key area for the topic today. So really, this is around how do we manage the health of our employees, and in particular, are there particular processes we want to put in place to test our employees, the protocols that manage the environment that they go into. And in the current pandemic, this is a very, very important element of how do we put in place COVID-safe plans that allow us to work in a safe way, but that also manage our compliance obligations. So we need to have a plan in place, but we also need to ensure that we comply. So with occupational health, we can provide the evidence of that compliance, as well as supporting all of the different processes that we're going to go through with our employees. The last area under the kind of health and safety banner around audit management. So again, this is health and safety related audit, not business related audit. But all of those audit programs to ensure compliance, to ensure that we are doing all of the things, all of the processes, putting in place all of the corrective actions that we need to. So it's not just about the operational elements of identifying and putting those things in place, but also the auditing and making sure that is all compliant. So then if we move into the environment management, there are a couple of areas here. So firstly, around regulatory and permit compliance. This is very much understanding the legal frameworks in which we are operating. What are the appropriate governing laws, and what obligations do they put on the organization, and which policies are we going to adopt, which procedures are we going to adopt, and linking those back actually to the legislation. So we're able to then transparently track the work that we do back against the legal obligations. And then this fits then quite neatly with the next area around emissions management, where we're able to then track the inputs into the business in terms of, so this might be inputs in terms of electricity or water or gases, and then also the emissions that come from that. So we can actually start to analyze our carbon footprint, both in terms of usage, but also the impact that we have on the environment. And that analysis can be done in an automated way. So we can take feed from operational systems that are maybe doing monitoring and measurement. We can also schedule inspections and do this in a manual or semi-automated way as well. So this again is all about being able to show the evidence, and many organizations have requirements to report, either in their annual report or sustainability reporting. So with emissions management, we can capture all the inputs that are needed to support that reporting requirement. The last two areas here around management of change and maintenance safety, these are very much more now linked to the asset management topics. And we see this actually, that there's a lot of relationships between environment, health and safety and asset management and also the human resources that we manage. With management of change, this is around putting structured processes in place to manage technical changes within the organization. So we know when we commission assets, They don't stay the same way. There's changes, there's upgrades, there's new features are added. But what's really important is that change is managed in a very structured way. We have many examples where the change may have technically been completed, but the documentation was not updated. And so when the next time a worker comes to operate that equipment, they don't have the right information, the right documentation, and that can be catastrophic. So ensuring when we do a change, it's not just the technical elements of the change, but it's also the documentation, it's also the support, it's also the changes to the maintenance strategies, all of the different elements that make up all of the information that we need, and making sure that the right people have reviewed that, approved it, and actually completed all of the actions to make that change complete. And then in the last area, really around maintenance safety. So this is very much related to the execution of work, and it draws on those those risk assessments that we talked about earlier in the section around operational risk assessment. So that information then inherits down to the maintenance work that we do. So if we create a work order or a job, it can inherit that risk assessment, and then we can put in place the appropriate permits or controls that ensure that we only have suitably qualified people ready to then be able to execute that work, and that the work can't begin until the appropriate permit is issued, until the appropriate safety information and qualifications are in place. So so integration here between the risk assessment and the asset management to ensure that if we're working in an environment that has inherent risk, that we have appropriate safety controls in place. And then the last area around work clearance, just before we move on, so around work clearance, just ensuring that we have the appropriate, not just permits, but also lockout and tag out procedures also in place. So if we actually need to prevent work from beginning, we can have the appropriate processes there to ensure that an asset is isolated, that is made safe. Then the work can begin, and then when that work is completed, that it is then restored back into operation. Excellent. So a really quick overview there, done at a million miles an hour, but just to give you a feeling of the complete breadth of the solution here. Now today in the session, we're going to focus on 3 or 4 of those modules, and I'm going to hand over to Arun to get into the detail of how we can utilize some of those as part of the Safe at Work. But I think before we do that, Arti, we have another poll question, correct?
Yes. So here is the second poll question. Does your organization have systems, policies, and procedures to manage such pandemic situations? Thank you, attendees. Over to you, Arun.
Thanks, Aarti. Thanks, John. Thanks, John, for providing a brief introduction about the SAP EHS components. So now, team, we are going to look at the Safe at Work, the solution what we are bringing to the table today, and we'll be showcasing how this functionality is being built. So I'm just taking few items from John's presentation, like how John explained the overall functionality of SAP EHS, what all the modules it is having, how the organization can use this functionality for their better business processes. So we have handpicked few of those solutions like incident management, occupational health, operational risk assessment, audit management. So these are the handpicked solutions from which this Safe at Work solution is designed. And the base for this is my HR resource, my employee database, which is at the bottom. So these are the 4 modules that have been integrated to bring to you the Safe at Work solution. Okay. Let's look at the architecture, the system, how the functionalities work. So currently, team, what you're seeing is a Safe at Work's a high-level business flow, how the system is being designed, how this system addresses the current pandemic situations need for the organization. So this is an overall high-level flow. I'll just quickly explain you how this flow works, and then we will go into the SAP system, and we'll see how this system functionality is working into the SAP process, how this is working for for a real-time user once you take this. Okay. So the overall process starts with a preliminary health checklist question. So the organization needs to know the employee's health condition before they bring back to their employee to the operation. They need to know their current health condition, how they are stable enough to resume back to the operations and start working into the operation. So the HR team and the organization sends preliminary health checklist to employees. The employees get these details over an email where they'll get a link. They can open the link, provide their response for that question is what is there in that list. And this question is pretty easy. They have to click to the appropriate response and submit it. So once this data is being submitted, this data is going into our SAP database tables or the SAP backend database, from where this data is being scrutinized, analyzed by the EHS managers, HR teams, and they get the report of all those employees who are fit, who are just having like no symptoms of such infections. All those report is being gathered from the SAP database, and that list is again filtered, scrutinized, and shared it further with the site security team. So if you look at the third level of screening which is happening, that is like the employees at the gate or the security person, they receive a the employee checklist, those who are coming to the operations, and they have the further information about the employees details, what they need to do when the employees are resuming back to the operation. So they have to do their temperature checkup, they have to do their other PPE checkups, they have to see whether they have any symptomatic condition on that particular day when they're reporting to the operation. So that level of screening is done at the entry gate when the employee resume back to the operation. Okay. So based on this, the response, whatever is being submitted and given by the second level screening by the security person, if there are any deviations, so if you found that the employee is fit to work, the employees are allowed to go back to the production and start the work. If there are any symptomatic condition they have identified, they report that into the system. They report that as a deviation, and that reporting just been tracked through the system as an SAP process, and appropriate corrective preventive actions are taken place. Health checkup is conducted, their medical records have been gathered. Based on their final recommendation from the health checkup team, the final decision is being taken by the EHS managers and the HR team whether to bring back the employees to the operation or whether he has to be sent for further medication. So that is a decision based which will be taken based on the deviation that is getting reported. Integrated with that, once the deviation is such infectious or critical illness is identified at a workplace or at your operation space, so we are doing a risk mitigation process, as John explained in his earlier slides. So we are mitigating a workplace risk to identify the hazards that happened at that workplace, identify those control measures which need to be applied at that workplace. All those mitigation of risk for a workplace is being done through my risk assessment process. In line to that, we are also doing a workplace audit, which will say like more of a site inspection to ensure that the infection is not being spread to rest of the employees or the workplace hygiene is maintained over the organization. So that is being done through the audits and the inspection process. The predefined checklists are defined into the system. The auditors can just assign those audits and schedule that audit into the particular plant or location and do the checklist enablement and get that audit evaluated. Based on all this response, whatever you have done, whatever the corrective preventive actions you have identified, what are the control measures you have identified, all these have been reported as a task or an action into the system that can be overall managed by an EHS manager. There are certain functionalities and features in the system where you can track these actions, due date, whom it is assigned, and when, what is the date of completion for it. So all this action tracking all can be done. At the final stage is something like the dashboard. So the leadership or the management needs to track how their performance of their employees' health condition is being tracked across the regions, across the different business unit, different regions, countries like that, and how many such deviation, risk, and audits have been reported across the different business units, different sites. So overall, this will help them to plan constantly monitor their employee health records and plan their production in a better way so that their business is not disturbed due to any of this pandemic situation. Okay. So this is an overall high level process view of how this functionality will work in the system. So now we'll quickly go into the system and I'll explain you how this process works into the system as well. Okay. So currently the screen which you're looking at to my current screen is a SAP S4 HANA 1909, which is the latest system, latest theory-based system from the SAP side. So this system works on a theory-based application that the tiles which you're seeing or the boxes which you're seeing. It is more like a theory-based tiles, which is just click of a button. You can just open that functionality and start working on that functionality. So as you could see the styles, or if you could see all the styles which are there on my screen. So this system is more of like a role-based system. Okay, so role-based system, when I say, based on the employees or the organization, the employee's roles and responsibility for his job nature to be done, appropriately these tiles will be visible to him. So if you look at, there are some tiles related to health surveillance, medical records. So these are something like employees' medical records. They have to schedule an appointment. They have to get the employees' medical results. That based on that, the data will be analyzed and the HR will take a decision. So this is more of like a confidential information of an employee. So these level of tiles or the access to this kind of a view will be given to those HR team or an EHS director person or a site EHS manager or person. So those people only able to view this particular tiles or the boxes. Apart from that, the normal, say for example, if you're an EHS manager of a site, so you will have remaining reporting and observations, managing and tracking the actions, managing the audits and risk. All these boxes or the tiles will be visible too, based on your roles and responsibilities in the organization. So the bottom line, what we want to convey here is that now what you're seeing is more like an, say for example, an plant operation manager level view, where he can see all this data, right? Or the plant HR head who can see all this information. But if you're at based on your job nature, these tiles will be filtered, and you will visualize only those tiles that will be appropriate as per your job responsibility. Okay. So now this is overall the functionality, how this safe-at work is being designed. These are the process. Whatever you saw in my presentation will be, flow will be happening through this. Okay. So before I start explaining this overall process to you, let's take some business real-time example so that we can quickly relate this process to your existing day-to-day business process. Okay. So now when you're talking about a preliminary health checklist question, the organization cannot bring all their employees back to the operation at a single day. So all their 1,000 employees or 2,000 employees, they cannot resume to the operation at a single day. So the organization will plan for the employees who have to come to the operation. Like they will bring the employees into a batch-based approach. They'll not bring all the 1,000 employees at one stage. Rather than that, they'll just split them into like 20 employees, 30 employees, based on the batch-wise approach will be done, and the employees will be brought into the organization. So when the employees are identified, the employees will receive this checklist question. So they will receive an email. So if you could look at my screen, this is a sample email that has been received by the employees. They receive that email link where they can open a box where they can answer the questions for their health conditions. Okay. So when you click on that link, probably you will come to this screen. So this is a screen where the checklist is being defined. Okay. So the employee information will be already pre-populated into the screen, and the employee has to just fill the response for this question what have been provided to them to answer. Okay. Thanks. So team, as we were telling, so this is more of like an employee checklist where the employee have to provide a response to this particular checklist. So we have defined some predefined questions here where they can give their response. One of the important or the primary question which we want to get to know from employees is that has the employee already got tested for COVID-19, whether he has been tested positive or negative. So those are the first level of question which we would like to know from the employee detail. So if the employee tells that first question that he has already got tested as yes, and if he has been, for example, he tells that I have tested as positive, if he clicks the response as yes, they did not answer the remaining questions. So based on this, the evaluation will be taken and the further will be defined by the organization. Okay, so if you click on the yes, yeah, so once the employee gives his response, they can submit on this button. They can confirm that their response is submitted, and the response is being submitted to my SAP database table, and the employee receives the response from the pop-up menu from the screen. Okay, so the pop-up comes up that like what is the further steps they need to do it. Okay, So meanwhile that comes up. Let's see for another example where an employee says that there is he does not got tested. So he just fills this response for the age, gender, and the other checklist questions. So he just tells that what are the health condition he is having, and he just selects those appropriate check boxes that are relevant based on his health conditions. Okay, so these questions are defined from the WHO guidelines and the different medical factors, and based on which this data is being set up here. So here the employee said that okay, he gets it and he just confirms that option, and appropriately he gets a pop-up message that this is a data being submitted and what are the further steps he need to do. Okay, so once this is being done, the data goes and sits into my SAP database table. So you could see my screen. So this is my database from the SAP where all the employees' information, their responses of results, everything is being captured into my SAP database table. So from this database table, my HR team receives a report that who are all the negative case employees. She receives a report to the HR team, and they scrutinize it further to take it ahead for the second level of screening. So this is an initial screening which is happening when the employees are at their home. They give their response, and when the employees resume back to the operations, we want to get their second level of screening. So the data has been scrutinized, and the HR team sends the data to the site security person. So this will be a kind of a list that is going to the site security person who gets the data, who are the employee coming on to the operation at that particular date, what are the roles and designations, and what are the further checks he has to do at the employee screening. So when the employees are coming back at the gate, what he needs to do. So he needs to check their temperature, he needs to see whether they have proper PPEs, whether they are having any symptomatic condition, any of these. Based on that, the security will provide them the gate pass that they are allowed to go into the operation or not. Okay, so once this data has been scrutinized by the security person, this data is again sent to the site EHS person, and this data gets updated into my SAP records. So accordingly, the data gets updated into my SAP records as well. So based on this, if there is some symptomatic condition, so if the employees are not allowed, so if he is having some symptomatic condition, so the management or the data which is sent to the EHS manager for that particular site, he can go and report that kind of an issue or the person who is having such a symptomatic condition as an observation into the system. So you see a tile or a box which spells the report and observation. So this report and observation is nothing more like your day-to-day as an EHS manager. You will know that how to report an unsafe condition, unsafe act, or unsafe behavior. This is a similar kind of a thing where you can report that as an observation. So click on the report observation. You can just get those fields that are need to mention about the employee details, what has happened, and you can quickly report this as an observation into the system, and that gets notified to the respective employee site EHS person or EHS supervisor, who can further take action on this particular observation which is being reported. So the reason why we are doing all this process is that and by no means we are letting an employee like unscrutinized, or the employee is not being allowed into the operation without the proper scrutinization of their health condition. Okay? So all these things are being done in the system. Their data records are being captured. You report an observation, and just you click this send button so that this observation gets reported into the system. So you see there is a unique observation ID getting reported, and there is an EHS manager who gets notified. The responsible site manager gets a notification from the system. Okay, so this is an overall process so far. What you have seen, that you are getting a preliminary checklist question from an employee. When they are at their home, you got their response. You scrutinize the data from the SAP records. You got those list of negative case employees. That list is being sent to the site security team. There is a second level of screening that is happening at the site. So as you see, there is a multiple level of screening happening to the employees before they are sent to the operation. Okay. So now we saw the initial process, how this has happened. Now let's take the second scenario when the employee has been into the organization, when they're working into the production line, and some symptomatic condition is found in some of the employees, like he's feeling ill, or he's feeling that sickness, or he's having some kind of a critical illness. So how do you manage that once the employees are into the production? So that is being done from a reporting a deviation or an incident. So this is a tile where that report deviation happens. So we already have reported some of this deviation. We will quickly show you how this process works in the system. Okay. So I'm taking one of the reported deviation. I'll open the deviation and we will see how this process is getting mapped into the system. Okay. So this is one of the deviations that is got reported into the system. And you see there is a unique incident ID for this particular deviation which is got reported. It's a more of classifying an incident that this is a critical illness incident, and the employee who got injured or who got ill is been tracked into this equal tab. So those employees who are ill, that this information is maintained here, and you do a detailed investigation process for this incident, for this reported deviation. This investigation has the respective steps to capture the details of the employees and to take the next appropriate measures. But before the deviation is being initiated, we have certain tasks, actions that have been assigned. So you see there are certain tasks that are assigned telling that take the health surveillance of this employee. So employee who was found sick or who are having a critical illness, we are scheduling a task. We are getting his medical records updated from the site medical team. Based on that report, what we get, whether he is found positive or negative, based on that positive or negative symptoms, we are going to carry out this investigation. If he is found negative, then appropriately you take the appropriate actions and close it. If he is found positive, then what are the next steps we need to do? That is being tracked into the investigation. So as I told you that there is an action to tell that there is a health surveillance to be assigned. So we'll see how this process works into the system. How you schedule an appointment for that employee, how you get his medical records updated, all those factors. Now you see there are two different tiles which are related to those medical records. So this is one of the health surveillance is one of the type where you can schedule an appointment for that particular employee. So your employee detail, employee ID is already mapped from your HR data. So you select an appropriate employee ID, select which shift he reported, select the protocol or the test which you want to take to him. So once you select the protocol, appropriate tests are automatically assigned. Tell the site which medical center he has to visit, so that he will visit that site and schedule that appointment that which date he has to go. So we are giving a date that this date the appointment is taken. So you submit this record. You see the data records is updated in my scheduling cockpit. So now you select the employee and confirm that scheduling for that particular employee. So you send an email. So system successfully sends an email to the employee, his site EHS manager, and to the medical team, like who was like the medical team at the site medical center. They receive an email. Okay. So now there is a medical or say for the appointment is successfully scheduled for this particular medical person. Now the site medical in charge opens this site, the medical results. He sees a list of employees who are coming to his operation, particular medical site that day, and he tells that now he gets the reports of that employee. He selects the employee and he gives the test results for each of those conditions. So he tells that what are the test results against each of the tests which has been taken for those employees. So he fills the conditions, he fills the test results, and he tells that this is my data observation for this particular employee, and he can submit the medical records for this employee. He can browse a file, upload a file of that medical results, and he can tell the recommendation as a medical doctor what is recommending to this employee. Okay. So he tells this process and submit this data into the system. So now we have seen the overall process of medical surveillance, okay, how this getting assigned and appropriately the investigation, tracking, all this being done, taken care. So after this process of deviation is getting addressed, you do a risk mitigation process, which is again integrated with your deviation. Then you also do a audit process. As I said earlier, so you define an audit and how you manage an audit. So let's quickly see an audit. So this audit is how your site inspection is being done. And you see this is the audit that is being already created and processed at the site. You see that the questions are mapped according to the site's related procedures and policies. So what are the questions are needed for me to track the hygienic of the site that is being captured here? So the lead auditor process this audit at the site and gets this audit evaluated. Right? So once whichever you see in the green icons or the passed or the evaluate the questions to pass that evaluation, wherever you see red, that is not fulfilled the criteria. So whenever the fulfillment is not happening for that particular questions, you can report an action. So you see each of these 5 questions will have an action associated with it. Again, there will be person responsible stakeholders who can take care of this action. They can not get notified from the system directly. You need not do a manual interruption process. And after the overall audit is being scrutinized or processed, you just go and evaluate the overall audit. You get the result of the overall audit. Okay, so you get the audit result. You can see here the fulfill of the audit. What is the overall status of the audit? If your audit is failing, you can do a follow-up audit on this. So this is the end-to-end process how you are covering up for it, bringing an employee to the organization, making the organization in a better, safer, hygienic place, and so that the infection is not spread. And at the end, the management teams get an overall dashboard. Like you see, this is a dashboard where the organization can view their overall positive, negative cases across their different regions, across their different business units. How many such cases have reported based on the response, month-wise response was they got as a batch-wise. They're picking the people. You can track that. How many the trend, how the trend is following for the positive, negative cases. How many such deviations, audits, or risk have been reported. So all this can be tracked by an organization so that they can better plan their production, how they can betterly monitor their employee health condition, so that their business is not getting disrupted due to this pandemic situation. Overall, they can have a better control over their employee status as well, and they can meet their demand and the supply. So this is an overall process flow how we are seeing this safe at work. The solution is being designed. So I think now you will get a poll question where you can just answer before we go to the next process. Over to you, Ati.
Yes, thank you, Arun. So here is the last poll question. As a next step, how would you like to get more details about our solution and capabilities? Thank you. Over to you, Yogesh.
Thank you, Aarti. I think that was a fantastic insights from Arun on the solution demonstration side, taking us deep into the solution and letting us know how the solution, how the system works in bringing my people back to work. At the same time, John, highly appreciate you running through the entire solution landscape, letting all of us know that the solution does not meet my today's requirement, but is capable of handling tomorrow's requirement as well. The way EHS solution covers the incident management, risk assessment, management of change, occupational health, the worker safety and work clearance management, logout, tagout. It's definitely the entire spectrum of HSE, health, safety, and environment, which gets covered into this solution. So I'll take a couple of minutes in summarizing what we have seen about this solution in the last 2 weeks, in the previous webinar and this webinar. I think you see that there are the solution snippet. This solution is available on mobile, so all the reporting, all the audits can happen on your mobile devices. There are inbuilt checklists. So you saw that how Arun has demonstrated a story of a tight screening. The screening at multi-level. The employee sitting at home gets to fill the report at an early time, just to make sure that he's aligned, he's okay to go to office. But there is a second level of screening at the gate, tightly and kind of closing the loop from 360-degree perspective, that anybody who is entering the office premise is safe for himself as well as for the other people, other fellow employees whom he will be working with. It sends a lot of workflow notification, which means that system ties up back to your Outlook, your email servers, and keep letting you know the action items, what you have to deliver, what you have to perform. There are a lot of ready reports and dashboard. I think Arun showcased a dashboard which gives you a very clear picture on how my site is doing and how my site is managing this COVID situation, COVID scenario with the suspected patients or with the patients who are recovered from the COVID scenario. So pretty much, I think a business critical function which gives you an end-to-end scenario for the COVID management, or I'll call it as a pandemic management situation, but it applies to much beyond COVID, much beyond any pandemic, because over here it actually ensures a business continuity, how to ensure that any such issues are addressed and we get business continuity. Now, I think there were a couple of questions last time with that how this solution is architected, what is the kind of a basic architecture or the landscape of this solution. So this solution again is an SAP based solution, SAP based upon the latest SAP S/4HANA technology landscape. So you see that if you are already on S4, you can utilize the EHSM components, which are incident management, risk assessment, audit management, and occupational health. Connect with your SAP human capital management or success factor, and then dashboards to give you the complete purview of the functionalities. In case you are not running on SAP and you are on some other ERP as well, we strongly recommend to get you to SAP. Definitely SAP is the leader into the ERP space. But for any reason, if you are not on SAP, this solution still can be deployed on cloud on your on-prem the landscape and can connect to your non-SAP ERP as well. Which means this is definitely, I think, out of the box thinking, out of the state technology, by which we can still utilize the gamut of functionalities around this solution, even if you are not on SAP. So we integrate with your non-SAP HR, non-SAP ERP system, and can connect with your dashboards and analytical tools to give you the crux of the storyline. However, the power of integration is achieved with SAP and can be done without SAP as well. Now, I think most of you would have a question that this solution does cover a lot from a functionality standpoint. It gives me what I need to manage my COVID situation. That's what we have heard our experts speaking about it. We have heard our partners with whom we have worked together, our product team in SAP with whom we have developed and we have brought in this solution. But when I talk about the timeline, you'll be very exciting to know that this solution can be implemented within a flat 10 weeks time frame. Yes, you heard it right. Within 10 weeks of time, this solution can be live at your first plant or first site. We call it as a master template readiness. You see, it's a pretty tightly integrated schedule. We bring in lot of reports, lot of data, lot of checklist pre-built, and when we come to you, that many of these things are already ready in place, and hence it enables a faster implementation. We use the SAP best practices methodology. We use Activate. We use the kind of BC sets. Some of this is technical, but actually I think if I have to give us the similarity, I'll say that this is a kind of a semi-cooked food for yourself. So basically, you get a framework, you get a skeleton, you get all the reports in place, leverage it, build it together, and then probably implement it. But not only the time, since we are able to reduce the time of implementation, we also probably are able to provide this solution at a pretty attractive price point. So I think you see that although we have a very attractive price point before that as well, but for a promotional period for this month, again, we are releasing this solution. We released it in the last week. So we are actually offering it at $150,000 for this solution. Again, the scope can be looked at, but tightly integrated solution covers an end-to-end functionality on the COVID management, pandemic management scenario with a lot of reports, dashboard pre-built in, can be achieved at this attractive price point. Now, I think one last slide, which definitely everybody, I will let you go with all of you as a takeaway, is the key benefits. Why do we need a solution and what this solution brings for me? So when I use this word, key benefits, I'll make you think about what you have seen into this entire 45 minutes of demonstration so far. You saw that system is built upon the business best practices. So we are actually leveraging what probably is the need of the business, need of the industry today. There are pre-configured reports and the pre-configured checklists. You saw that how an employee gets an email from the system, how he fills his updates his question. The data goes back into the SAP system. Again, there are tables which are maintained there, so that one source, it builds one source of truth for yourself. We are able to track the critical illnesses. We are able to track the contact tracing. How many people have been working into this shift? because all this information is at one central house. There are a lot of actions which goes from one person to another, or one role to another, by using the action and task monitoring system. And you see that the entire implementation time has been reduced, I think, as we mentioned into the previous slide, 10 weeks of implementation for your first site at a pretty attractive price point. And we have been able to do with our domain expertise, our support from our partners, support from our principal SAP and product owners, so that we are able to leverage the expertise, bring in a lot of best practices, or bring in a lot of, I think, ready-made components into the solution. So we do not spend a lot of time building, rather we spend a lot of time in deploying at your site, enabling your team members, bringing them up to the speed on the solution. So again, I think in a nutshell, this is absolutely a package which probably can cover everything what an industry, what a business need to get your people back to work. My closing slide is about releasing this solution, a launch. As you see that Safe at Work is a solution which brings you back to work. Most important word, safely. It brings you back to work safely is the key here. The entire spectrum of functionalities ensures that safety, health surveillance, the monitoring, digitization kind of is kept at the center, just to make sure that wherever you are today and how you move back from your home to office, and when you move from office to home, this safety is probably takes the central object. Safety is the key core concept around it. With this, I'm sure that there will be many more information which will be circulated across the social media, across your email IDs for all the people who have registered on our webinars. We'll be sending you collaterals, videos, and the kind of promotional campaigns. I think with that, Aarti, I'll hand it over to you. My last statement is that technology is definitely need of the hour to bring all of us back to the new normal. With SAP as an ERP leader and YASH as a partner of choice for your EHS solution and EHS needs, absolutely this combination can help you come out of this pandemic easier, faster, and better. Thank you. Over to you, Aarti.
Thank you so much, Yogesh. So we'll just wait for another minute, so that we'll give the attendees some time to post their questions. So attendees, you can post your questions in the question sections of the control panel of this webinar. So speakers, the first question is, can the solution be extended for my other EHS requirements with whatever functionality it is delivered here?
I can take that question, Aarti. So yes, as John has explained, that SAP Environment, Health and Safety solution gives you the entire spectrum of modules and functionalities. For this scenario, which is specific to bringing the people back to work, we are utilizing incident management, risk assessment, audit management, and occupational health primarily to build this storyline. But the other solution and other components are pretty much available to yourself. It is a scalable model. You can always add more components like chemical approval, or you can add more functionalities like industrial hygiene and sampling, or talk about the risk assessment, which is job hazard analysis or job safety analysis into the picture. Today, within this tight framework, it's a pre-packaged, pre-configured solution to meet my today's business requirement. But solution is all flexible and scalable to meet your tomorrow's expectation by just adding another component and by going for the another cycle of kind of say add-on functionality and configuration in there. John, did I cover it well, or you would like to add something?
No, I think you covered it very well. I think we have customers who start in many different areas, right? Traditionally around environment, health, and safety, you might say, hey, it's maintenance safety is the most important thing for us. So you might start with permit to work and work clearance. In many cases, it's around incident management. And I think as you've shown today, with the particular requirement around COVID and the pandemic, there is a foundation of functionality here that supports the processes that we need to operate in a COVID safe way. But yeah, the whole platform, the environment, health, and safety capability is available. And so you can certainly extend beyond just operating for COVID safe and take advantage of the other functionality as well. And I'm sure, Yogesh, from YASH's perspective, you have the ability to support across all of those different elements.
Absolutely, John.
Yes. Next question is, health surveillance is a different SAP solution, or is it a part of SAP EHSM?
Sorry, Arti, can you repeat? I just missed the first part of the question.
Yes. Health surveillance is a different SAP solution, or is it part of SAP EHSM?
So health surveillance would fall under kind of the occupational health area. So in terms of the testing and recording results, medical history, these sorts of things, this comes under the occupational health area.
Okay. So the next question is, 150K is the only implementation cost, or does it include the license cost as well?
So I can take that question, Aarti. So 150,000 is the implementation cost for all the best practice and all the functionalities which we talked about. SAP licenses are sold on top of this cost, which can be procured directly with SAP, or probably we can work it out. We can work it out as YASH to get those licenses from SAP. But I'm sure that the total TCO for this cost, including the license price, is also going to be as attractive as you find this implementation price.
Okay. The next question is, will this meet GDPR regulation in Europe?
So yes, there is very, very strict security around the way that personal information in the system is managed. So there are security controls here that ensure that only authorized people have access to that information, and where necessary, that information can be restricted further. So yes, so similar to SAP's human resources solutions in general, which obviously manage a lot of personal data. The information that sits here within the environment, health, and safety, which is also personally relevant, is also protected by those same sorts of controls.
Okay. So the next question is, what are the extra efforts needed to integrate this solution with other ERP solutions?
Arun, would you like to take that question?
Yeah, sure. So if you're into any other ERP, so that integration is very much possible. We can do that. Or if you're in any of a cloud solution, we can also implement this safe at work solution which we are offering, right? So it's more like a standalone system where it can integrate with your existing HR base, existing ERP, whatever you're using. The data can be pulled from there, and this solution can run for your organization as well.
Okay. The next question is this solution only for HANA systems, or can this be extended to the older versions like SAP ECC?
So maybe, Yogesh, I might answer the first part, and then you maybe can add. So the SAP solutions for environment, health, and safety have been available, for more than 20 years. I think in the last session we spoke about the 25-year journey. So the majority of these capabilities are available in quite old versions of the SAP portfolio. So, but the recommended level, if you're on ECC Enhancement Pack 7 or higher, you would definitely be on the recommended level. Of course, anyone who is running the S4HANA versions is absolutely fine as well. But even on versions older than Enhancement Pack 7, the foundational elements of the Environment, Health and Safety suite are there. And so we could certainly look at implementing on those as well. So the prerequisites here, I think, are pretty broad.
No, John, you pretty much are right. The solution can go back as backdated as ECC. Again, into the whether it is an NWBC platform or whether it is GUI systems, but leverage the best mobility Fiori application is the future. So when there are functionalities available on future, why not we do it? And as John mentioned, if you are on ECC 6, EHP 7 and above, we can still leverage the power of Fiori and power of mobility with your ECC landscape.
Okay, so there are 2 to 3 questions where people still have doubt whether this solution can be integrated with the non-SAP solution. So maybe you can a little bit elaborate on it.
I can take that question again, and again, Arun, please help me there if you feel different. So even I will take an example from a real life customer. So that customer has a very varied. Apologies, team. We are almost at the end of the hour. I'll take a minute to answer this question, and then probably I'll let you all loose. So this customer has, I think, multiple plants spread across the geography. So in this customer case, there are in multiple plants. In some plants, they are using JDE. In some plants, they are using PRMS. They are using ECC. Couple of their new plants or new factories are on S4. So we are able to build one central global EHSM solution on cloud, implemented on cloud, which connects to all these systems, maybe in different instances. So when we talk about the functional location or the equipment master asset management, we can load it directly by using upload tables. For the HR, we can link it with Workday, or we can link it with the other HR systems. So the integration is absolutely possible with all different possible ERPs which you are working with. I'll again repeat, the power is realized definitely with SAP much faster, much easier, because it is the same landscape, same structural arrangement. However, again, there is always an art of possibility to integrate with other ERPs and other, I think, other HR or dashboard applications. So some of my customers are using Power BI for generating reports, when SAP has a pretty powerful analytical tools and SAP S4HANA Analytics on cloud, and the various the analytical functionalities. But if you are on Power BI, if you wanted to use Tableau, people pull the data into these applications and generate their reports based upon their global standards. So interfacing is never an issue. It is the system itself gives the flexible framework to leverage the best of the art technologies wherever you are working on.
I think this would be pretty helpful for those who have posted these questions. I'll club 2 questions that have come with respect to the cost. So one is, will the cost be same if it's implemented in the ECC environment? And the second question is this in this solution, there are a lot of functionalities which have been covered, such as incident management, audit, industrial hygiene. Can we reduce the solution cost if we don't have to leverage all these features?
Okay, good question. So the price has been put in place for the entire solution set. So it is not a component cost. I'm sure that if you would have seen some of the SAP projects, or you would have, I think, gone through the cycle of SAP implementation, the price is, I think, as good as probably implementing only one module sometimes. So the kind of the overall price has been given with a fixed scope and a fixed scope for this project. So we have defined the business problem. We have taken up all the requirements which meets my current business problem. If it needs to call for an occupational health functionality, or it need to call for an industrial hygiene, or it need to call for an audit management, we have actually plugged in a lot into this package. If we take it out separately, I'm sure the cost will be much more and much huge in this perspective. So the short answer is that breaking it into further functionalities may not help, because it will not give you a 360-degree coverage from the perspective what we feel. However, if you are still looking for breaking it down, we can always talk one-on-one and can understand what functionality you wanted to take off it and how does it impact the cost. We can absolutely explore that option. And the first part of the question was ECC versus S4, if it is going to be same. So I think I pretty much tried to answer this question here as well. The cost is not based upon I think the hours and efforts we have taken. I think we have been working on this solution for past 3+ months now, and an entire team is working on it. It is more about the kind of SAP's and SAP's partners and dedication and the commitment towards our customers in bringing the best business need solution at the need of the hour. So it is the need of the hour to get you back to work, and SAP and our partners of SAP like YASH feel that commitment towards yourself. So price cannot be mapped to the efforts what probably goes in, what has went into it, building it, or will go into building the solution. John, probably your comments if you would like to add anything here.
Yeah, look, I think you've covered it very well. I mean, in order to deliver an end-to-end solution here for COVID safe operations, you've brought together a number of different components. I think for a complete solution, that is what is needed. I mean, there is of course the possibility to look at smaller scopes and things like this. I think the best way to do this, however, would be to have a one-on-one discussion, go through the business processes that you need to support, and then put in place the appropriate solution. And I know the teams at both SAP and YASH would be very happy to help with those and support those discussions.
Okay, so I think we have covered most of the questions, speakers and attendees. If we have missed any of your questions, we'll get in touch with you, and our experts will connect with you to speak one-on-one. In the interest of time, I would like to stop the Q&A session here, and Yogesh and John, any closing notes before I move to the closure?
Just a quick thank you from my side for everyone who's attended. It's fantastic to see what YASH are doing here on top of the core SAP platform and the content and the experience that they're bringing to add more value to that. So I really applaud them for doing that and for making that available to support our customers. So fantastic work.
Yogesh?
Yeah, so I'll also take nothing more than 30 seconds on this. I would sincerely like to appreciate all the people, all my registrants and participants who have joined this webinar, taken out time from your busy schedules. Sincerely appreciate. I hope both this session would have given you an insight on how SAP and partners are bringing value in your day-to-day life, how the solutions are being created to meet your business problems, to bring your life back to new normal. We again re-emphasize our commitment to deliver the best to yourself. In the past, we have done it. We continue to do it ahead as well. With that, I would like to thank John, our team in Singapore, Sanjay, and everybody who has been involved in bringing this power packed webinars in execution. Aarti yourself, my marketing team, Arun yourself, solution team who has been working day in and day out in bringing this product. Highly appreciate every one of you. A great job, team.
Okay, so thank you so much, speakers, for providing us in-depth insight into this topic today. I would like to thank you all our attendees for taking out time and participating in this webinar series. Speakers, with your permission, I am closing this session. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you, Aarti. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, team. Thank you, Aarti.